Hey there, Mountaineers! Welcome to the second commentary episode on the newest episode of Historyland, Space Mountain, Designing the Unknown. I believe that's the title. Today I am again joined by my writer, Jeremy. Why don't you say hi to the people at home?
Hello to the people at home.
And hopefully hopefully this second episode we'll be getting the hang of this kind of thing better than the first one. The first one turned out okay, but hopefully this one will be better than the first one. Not that the first one was bad, but hopefully this one is better.
I hope so, yes.
All right, let's just jump right into it. I'll do a countdown from 3. All right, 3, 2, 1. All right, so I guess right off the bat, this intro sequence is one of my most favorite things that I've done in any of the Historylands. I sent the rough cut to Jeremy without the audio, without the voiceover, and it sort of was like a horror film without the voiceover. And then here the voiceover comes in and sort of ruins it, but yeah.
Well, no, I think it works perfectly because, you know, if there's anything about this attraction that I think stands out, it's the unsettling venture into the unknown, you know. And I think it sets the tone perfectly.
Yeah, this was a very, very interesting, like I said, almost like a horror film. I might end up posting the whole thing without the audio, maybe.
Oh yeah, that'd be good. Yeah.
Gosh, I might want, I don't know. I'll figure something out. This was really one of my favorite episodes of Historyland to work on. I said that last week about the Pirates episode, but I feel like this one sort of almost tops the Pirates episode just because, of course, the intro, like you said, sets the tone almost perfectly for the rest of the episode and about the attraction. But yeah, one of my favorite episodes of all time to be to have put out for you guys.
Yeah, I'm very proud with the way it turned out.
Gosh, and this is one of those parts, like I said, how I wanna release this intro sequence without the voiceover, because a lot of the little cuts and things are sort of muffled by the voiceover. You can't really hear the background audio as much, but yeah, here we go again with the Historyland Volume 3 intro. And I believe, Jeremy, you did actually hire someone to do a voiceover for the intro. Why don't you explain that?
That's correct, yeah. Well, I just, I wanted to make this sound as, like, professionally old school Disney as possible with a Disney-esque sounding announcer. So I went online just to see what kind of like voiceover services were available, and like for something that was only like 4 words, it would only cost like $14. So I was like, all right, I have $14. I might as well just invest in this, and it turned out perfectly.
Yeah, it is really good. And this, I didn't get to put a lot of detail into making the voice sound just right because we were crunched on time with the episode, but it turned out really well. It'll be perfected next episode. And I do want to point out also, my favorite things about these newer Historyland episodes is the background music, of how it just matches so perfectly with what we're talking about, and just the visuals on screen. It flows so perfectly. You'll see later on in the show, when we're talking about Tomorrowland 1967 makeover. But yeah, the music here is all Jeremy as well. Why don't you tell everybody about your extensive collection of Disney parks ride audio?
Well, no, I've been collecting Disney park audio for a long time, and yeah, well, that's really all there has to be said about that. But I just, in terms of relating to the episodes, I think very musically in general, and there are certain moments when writing these episodes that I'm like, oh, this particular moment in this particular piece of music would work to articulate something that I don't think could be articulated well with just words alone. And I really wanted to try to play with that with this particular episode. And I hope it's something that we can play with more in the future episodes. But I think it turned out well, just the music being another layer of the storytelling of the history. So that's pretty exciting for me.
Yeah, and Jeremy and I were talking, the background audio while the voiceover is playing could be raised up a little bit. That's all on me. I'm not the best sound mixer when it comes to that, but we are getting better, or I am getting better at that. So hopefully next week you guys will actually be able to hear the background audio over the voiceover, because it is very quiet. But coming up here, like you said, of how what you were saying about the music, one of my favorite things to do during these episodes is sort of like the quick cuts on the beats of all the music, and you'll see coming up here about the montage of the Matterhorn. Yeah, this sort of thing is one of my favorite things to do about the episodes. Cutting on the beats, and then it flows almost so perfectly. You'll see a better example of this later on, like I said, when we're talking about Tomorrowland.
Yeah, that sequence is perfect. It's great.
And I do have a comment that I want to read about someone who commented about that. Really got me deep, because his comment was so amazing to me. But yeah, we'll get to that later on when we see it.
After the Matterhorn was completed, Walt is known to have turned to his imagination.
Here it is. Best meme format of 2018.
That's your doing, too. So.
Yeah. For those of you guys that don't know, I took that screenshot of Walt with the Space Mountain quote. I scratched out Space Mountain and I put, why can't we have a Pixar-themed pier? Got a laugh out of a couple people on the Discord and on Twitter. So, new meme format, if you guys want. Take a screenshot of that, just cross out Space Mountain. Yeah. This commercial, actually, I used this commercial in the very first episode of Historyland, I believe.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
I think so, yeah.
I think it's a great commercial.
And I always love the guy with the yellow turtleneck.
I just think it's so surreal. It just captures the spirit of the attraction. It's just so absurd.
Yeah, like that last part of them just like flying out into space. It sort of like makes me wonder, how did they manage to film that? Yeah, that's just sort of kind of weird. But
I just love when the announcer at the end goes, "Experience it now."
Yeah. And here we go with another one of those I guess montages would be the word. Cuts to the music. One of my favorite things to do, like I said. Yeah. I really wish there was more better documented footage of the World's Fair, so I don't have to keep using those same clips from the World of Disney.
I mean, you can find home videos of the World's Fair on YouTube. People who documented it. You just have to look up. You just have to look it up, basically.
That's true.
But I mean, there's also more footage in that episode where he covers the fair, but
there are some that I've seen of the Ford Pavilion where it's just like
the Magic
really,
Skyway.
Yeah, where it's just like really terrible, badly aged footage.
Yeah.
That makes me sad. I wish they had HD cameras back then to document all this. This is why we need a time machine.
I know. Actually, I was planning on going to the fairgrounds site because I live in New York today, but I didn't end up doing it.
Oh, that would have been cool.
I always try to make it out there just to take it in. It really is a beautiful park, and you can kind of feel the spirit of the fair still there. So it's really nice.
That'd be an interesting trip to make. Here we go.
Oh yeah, it's yeah.
This is my favorite part in any of the Historyland videos so far.
Me too.
Oh my gosh, the People Mover, the monorail, the music. I love this background song. It's just so good.
It's not even the original rendition of the song, but I love this particular arrangement of it. It's just, I think it just captures the spirit of, well, Disneyland as a whole, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And then this one comment by Ross Nelson. He said, Tomorrowland and what that represented within Walt's vision of the future has fascinated me since I was a child. You capture the spirit of that dream perfectly here. That comment really made me happy. I don't know why, it just did.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one... If we have goals with this channel, I would say that's one of them, is to capture the spirit of what these parks are. You know,
gosh,
personally, as like a personal experience. So
yeah, especially the '67 Tomorrowland.
Oh god, I wish I could go back in time and experience that.
I know, like I said, this is why we need a time machine.
Exactly.
It's so bizarre seeing this footage of Walt Disney World, of the Tomorrowland, and you just see like trailers in the back, and then just this big pile of dirt, right?
And you can like see the contemporary resort just like standing there.
Yeah,
like
very awkward.
Yeah,
I think you can still see it from certain angles of Tomorrowland today, but I guess it's sort of masked better by Space Mountain. It then became clear that this might be the perfect. Gosh, another one of those rides that I wish I could experience. That just showed on screen, right here actually, the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Yeah, me too.
They would design the ride system that would perfect what
Although after watching like ride-throughs of it, I think the submarine voyage might have been better.
Really?
But not necessarily in theming, but I don't know, the organ music just kind of gets a little relentless after a while.
Yeah, I can definitely feel that. I do love the way the Nautilus looks, the design of that.
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah, stunning.
One of my favorite designs by Disney of all time.
I love this piece of music too. It's great.
Sometimes I listen to this loop non-stop all day while I'm working, while I'm eating food. It's really amazing music. Space Mountain opened at Walt Disney World on January 15th. Someone commented of how funny Mickey's voice sounded in this clip and the original one. It's so weird seeing Walt Disney World Space Mountain, how big it is compared to Disneyland's. Because of space issues, the ride would have to go from having
but it makes sense. Because Disneyland is really small, you know. It doesn't feel small when you're there, but yeah. The Disney World mountain really does feel like this mountainous figure, whereas Disneyland, it's like this thing in the distance that you kind of go into. It's, yeah.
I wish they had those robots still there. That'd be kind of cool. Gosh, I've never seen this footage of Space Mountain until I was editing this video. Like I said, time machine. Someone please invent a time machine. We need to go back to the early days of Disneyland to properly document all of this.
Yeah. I agree with that. I really wish I could have experienced the kind of the speed ramp up as part of the queue. But of course, you know, my first memories of Disneyland were when it was being all torn down for the '98 Tomorrowland.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd never seen this commercial before. I think it fits Disneyland Paris very well. The way it's made.
I just think it tries too hard.
Yeah, that's true. It kind of does.
You know, the magic of the original Disneyland Space Mountain commercial is its simplicity.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, here it's like almost like they're treating people flying into the moon as like a real event, but I think it fits. It perfectly fits Disneyland Paris back when this ride opened.
Well, yeah, and they were also desperate to get people to go to the park, so, yeah.
Come ride this roller coaster where you fly to the moon. I was pointing out to one of my friends the other day of how I believe all but 2 of the Disneyland theme parks have almost the same exact logo. except from the original Disneyland and I think Tokyo Disneyland. Because with Paris and with Hong Kong and all those, it's just like the Walt font, Disney, and then just like the basic font of just land. Whereas Disneyland is sort of like the retro font that you see in the Tokyo Disneyland is sort of, I guess, like modern.
Right. I didn't even think about that. This is actually footage. I didn't even mention this in the video, but Tokyo Disneyland was basically a replica of Disneyland, and then recently they did, well, not recently, like 2007, they did kind of like a different take on it. So it aesthetically looks different. But the track and everything is the same.
Interesting. I really wish I could visit all of these parks. Maybe one day. Gosh, this is a really beautiful image right here of Discovery Mountain.
Yeah.
This new theme for Tomorrowland would no longer focus on
I was going to say earlier when we were talking about time machines and all that, it's always weird for me to think how, like, you see these VHS transfers of, like, how you're seeing right now the opening of Disneyland Paris, the VHS transfers of all this footage. You'd think, at least in my mind, you'd think that that's how it looked back then, but if you really think about it, it looked exactly the same as it did now, if that makes any sense. It's not like...
Right, no, it does. Yeah. We don't take into consideration resolution changes over the years. You know, now pixels are getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, that things that looked stunning on video back in the day look awful. Now. Which is why movies have to keep going through restorations to make sure that they still look as good as they did projected on film.
This is a really awesome shot, the pan up to the Space Mountain. I believe this was Theme Park Tube, one of those channels who uploaded this. This is another ride I wish I could experience, the Paris version. Although I think we do mention in the episode it was permanently replaced by the Hyperspace Mountain, which kind of makes me sad.
And it's actually unclear whether that's permanent or not. I remember when the news was first released that it was like that's what the attraction was going to be forever.
Yeah, I remember that too.
Then you like hear people talk about how it's unsure whether it's going to stay the same, and maybe it'll be put back to the original 1995 one, which I hope. But I don't trust, now that Disney pretty much has full control over Disneyland Paris, I don't trust anything that's going to happen to that park.
That is very true. Although they are building the mini Star Wars land in the Walt Disney Studios park, so maybe once that is finished, they'll eventually revert it back. Hopefully.
Honestly, at this point, I think nothing is safe in Disney parks.
That's true.
Nothing.
Yeah, I agree.
I know we think there are untouchable attractions, but honestly, I don't think so anymore. I really don't. It's sad, but I really don't think so.
I absolutely agree with you. That's almost kind of what they did with the Lily Bell. You used to be able to ride on that, now you have to pay for the tour to be able to ride on it.
That is really sad.
I know. I never got to experience it.
If they ever did that to like the Mark Twain,
oh my gosh.
I would be very, very sad.
I don't even want to think about that.
They won't. But I don't know. I don't know. Exactly.
Oh my goodness.
I used to think that Tower of Terror was so popular that they would never do something like, you know.
This is another
where we are now.
This is another one of my favorite parts of the episode, is the quote about Walt.
Yeah, this was a great find. I found this actually very early on in researching how I was going to approach the video, and once I read how John Hench talked about observing the first people to go on the attraction and how he related it to just Walt's philosophy on what the parks can do, and just sort of creative intuition, I was like, this is it. This is where it all leads to.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It really is beautiful. You never think of this attraction that profoundly.
Yeah, it's
But,
weird because of course it's just like
yeah.
a roller coaster, but yeah. Here we are, the fastest 20 minutes of my life.
Yeah, really.
Ay, ay, ay. It's so strange to think that this ride is still as popular as it was back then as it is today. It holds up really well, especially with all the changes they've done to the track and everything.
It does, and I think it goes back to what John Henge talks about, which is it gives people an experience that is totally different from their daily lives. I mean, I know whenever I go on it to this day, I still feel the same way that I did the first time I went on it.
Yeah.
15 or so years ago. I still get butterflies in my stomach. It gives you an experience that is unlike anything you'll ever experience in your daily life.
Yeah.
And
I believe
that's why it's still around.
I believe the ride vehicles only go like 15, 20-ish miles an hour on the track, but since it's dark,
it's like 30.
Really...
30
30
something.
Gosh,
like 30, like 35, maybe 35.
Yeah, 35 is not very
same.
fast for a roller coaster, but
no, it's not. But then again, this was a primitive system, but it's all due to the experience.
Yeah.
That's it succeeds not just because it's a thrill ride, but because of the experience it gives you as a human being. And I think that's ultimately why it's still around, no matter what Disney feels they need to put on, like project onto the attraction.
Yeah.
The experience speaks for itself.
That is very true. I hope they never change or add a permanent overlay to Space Mountain in Disneyland. I would cry. But
yeah.
That wraps up the episode. Thank you, Jeremy, for joining me today. Do you have anything you'd like to say? Anything you'd like to say about the episode? How you think it came out? All of that stuff?
I'm very proud of it. I think we're, just like with each subsequent episode, we're forging new ground and new territory, new things to play with to enhance the storytelling. And I look forward to whatever we come up with for the next time. I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be whatever it's going to be.
Yes.
We may fall on our face one week, who knows, but it'll be valuable no matter what.
Yeah, absolutely. People in the comments have been saying that the episodes have been getting better and better. So hopefully we can stay on that trend of going up till we get to the very top.
I hope so. I would... I hope so. I want more people to see these videos. And we're getting there.
We really are. We've made a lot of progress from, gosh, I want to do a video of me like reacting to my first ever Historyland compared to like what we do
that
now.
Would be good. That would be good.
Yeah, because like my first episodes, like nothing against them. I didn't really know what I was doing. I had After Effects and a couple pirated VHS plugins. I thought they looked cool, so yeah, I might end up doing that next week or sometime in the future. But anyways, thank you, Jeremy, for joining me today on episode 2 of Commentaryland. I forget who came up with the name. Someone in the comments will remind me of who came up with that name. But again, thank you, Jeremy, for being here.
Of course.
And we will see you all in 2 weeks for episode 3 of Commentaryland. Hopefully...
Well, by the time this is released, it'll be a week. Oh, no, Commentaryland. Yes, 2 weeks. Yeah, I thought you were saying.
Well, we will see you again in a week.
Edit that out. Yeah.
No, I'll keep it in. It's fine.
Yeah, cool.
Anyways, we hope you all have a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. And, have a great, big, beautiful tomorrow.